What is the best way to interpret shop drawings and compare them to what's happening in the field? This is a question that was given to us by one of the viewers of this channel, which I appreciate so much because I love doing that. What I'm going to do in this video is talk about the approach that you can take to make sure that you are able to use the shop drawings, that you understand them, and that you can use it for checking work in the field and the best ways to go about it that will not waste your time. And I'm also going to give you some tips that will keep you safe. So if you're into that, stay with us on this video. So let's jam out and do this together. Let's talk about the difference between shops, submittals, and the specifications and the drawings and how they apply to you. So first and foremost, we have the construction drawings, and the construction drawings will show you the, I'm going to call it spiritual manifestation of your project before you actually build it temporarily in the field. Meaning this is your drawing, your building on paper. This will show you exactly what you're supposed to build, and it will be supplemented with specifications. Now sometimes you will have, or I've seen some designers loop in the specs into the construction drawings. I've seen that with multifamily buildings. For the most part, they're two separate things, right? And this is what we're contracted to. That's why we call them contract drawings. The designers are required to design according to normal standards of care, and you as a contractor, for the most part, are required to build what's on the drawings and on the specs. So this is literally the main source of truth. Now in the Division 1 section of the specifications, it will tell you what they call the order of precedence, like what takes precedence over the other. Typically, shop drawings and submittals will be subservient to RFIs, ASIs, addendum, bulletins, and the construction drawings and the specs themselves. So the point there is that the construction documents plus the specs are more valuable than the submittals. Maybe more valuable, more accurate, more relied upon. You're required to follow what's on the construction documents more than you would on the shop drawings and the submittals. In fact, when the inspectors come out and you say, hey, I've installed something here, but the construction documents require something different, the inspector will say, hey, this is what you submitted to the city. This is what matters, right? I also have some other examples of working in what used to be called OSHPOD in California. I remember the shop drawing showed that there was a 4x4 post attached to a masonry wall, and the clips were at 3 foot on center. The drawing showed 4 feet on center, so the shop drawings were actually better, but OSHPOD rejected it and said, hey, you have to do the 4 feet on center because that's what's required on the contract documents. So one thing that I want you to know is that when you're out using your shop drawings and your submittals, basically you pulled up the information that the trade partner submitted, and you're going to install or check the work. I'll just go ahead and write both of those. From the shop drawings, there is a risk because if this right here is in conflict with the contract drawings at all, you have a problem. One of the things that we need to remember is that these either need to be fully checked to be used here, or you need to check the install of the work from the construction drawings themselves. Let's talk about how you actually understand them. First and foremost, let me say that every set of drawings, every set of shop drawings, every submittal will literally be different. You're like, Jason, it's really not that different. Yes, it is. If you've ever looked at how certain steel manufacturers do their shop drawings, it's much different than the elevator contractor. It's much different from other steel manufacturers. Everything looks different. In this industry, there's so much variation in how we do things, or difference in the level of competence from company to company, that you cannot assume that all shop drawings are equal. So when you look at this, if you're like, what in the world, this doesn't make sense, don't worry, don't panic. It's not you, it's probably just the industry. And so here's what you need to do. When you get your submittal or the shop drawings and you're wanting to go out and check work in the field and you really want to understand this, one of the best ways to interpret these things is to ask or to work with the foreman. There is nothing wrong with asking, hey, what does this mean? How is it organized? What does that symbol mean? How do I read this? They love that. The only problem would be if you're a jerk monkey and you're treating trades improperly and you want to be the, the tough guy or gal out there, right? And look like you know everything. That would be the only problem. But if you're a true, connected, humble leader, just go out there and ask. And don't be embarrassed, because most of the time what I find is the foremen are like, yeah, they're a little bit difficult to read. Hey, these pages are all mixed up. Hey, you've got to reference this other set. Hey, I had to call and ask this question myself. So don't be afraid to ask the foreman, ask the trade partner PM, and just ask for some help from the vendor that actually put the shop drawings or the submittals together. It's not a big deal. So that's how you do your best interpretation. I have done other videos on how to prepare and read submittals and shop drawings. There are great courses out there. In fact, if you reach out to me, I'll put my contact information in the description below. I'll actually connect you to some of that training. But the best thing is to just get used to the language in that set of documents. This has its own language. This has its own language. Follow the process, get used to the general notes, the symbols and abbreviations, and go learn how to read the information from the experts firsthand. So when you actually know how to read these things and you've gone through and you understand the concepts and you've highlighted the key things that you need to check for the install, then the next step would be obviously taking this out to the portion of work on the project site and then going with, if you can, with the foreman and you together and referencing the drawings and checking the key components. Now you're probably like, hey, how can I double check somebody's work when I'm right there in front of them? Well, you're not trying to catch them. You're not like trying to bust them in some kind of undercover operation. Like, these are trusted trade partners. You can literally go through and ask the right questions, and they want to find out if something's wrong as well. So either by yourself or with the foreman, go out there with the shop drawings, check the key components. You can even ask the foreman, hey, what are the key things here that we need to check in order for us to know that we're compliant? Now, for me, when I was a field engineer, when I lead field engineers, I always say that when we're doing the check over here, whether it's masonry, whether it's a concrete placement, an in-wall inspection, or it's above ceiling, most of the time, I'm actually going to either bring in the contract documents in as well, or use this as my primary. Okay, remember that the shop drawings and the submittals are specifically there to make sure that we've selected the right materials, we have the right sequence, we have the right assembly, we have the right product types, and to give the trade partners something from which they can install. So these really help the trade. For you as a double check, and this is really important, if you use the same drawings to double check it and there was an error on the shop drawings or the submittals, you're going to make the same mistake. So checking here either as a duplicate, as a double check, or primarily from the construction documents will not hurt you. And so I want to make sure that that's clear. So you're probably wondering, okay, but where did the question come from? So first of all, it's very hard to understand shop drawings and submittals, even for me, even for the most experienced of us. So I've given you that answer. And then the second thing is, when should we use the shop drawings and the submittals to verify the work in the field? Let me answer that exactly. If you're double checking from the contract documents, the main thing that you'll check from here is the product type, the assembly. You're going to make sure that you have the right equipment type and the right materials, right? You're going to make sure that you have everything inclusive. You're going to use this to inventory your materials. So there are specific things that you can only get from here, but when it comes down to the final product, working with your inspectors, working with your third-party inspectors, working with the engineers behind the scenes, they are going to probably want to use the contract documents. That's how you understand them, get some help, and that's how you use them for the install. All I want to leave you with right now is make sure you don't make the mistake of leaving these unchecked and then checking the work in the field and replicating the same mistake that the trade would have if there is an error. What I'm going to do is put this into a bit of a graphic for you, into a blog post, and invite you to reach out to me if you ever need help. On we go.